Much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Ibu Amida. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Kaveh Zahiri, Deputy Executive Secretary of ESCAP, to moderate a panel discussion on particularly focusing on empowering persons with disabilities. Mr. Zahiri, please. And may I also invite all of the panelists to the table here to start the panel discussion. Please welcome them.
Of a large group or a large percentage of our populations. And the work that we've done at ESCAP shows that economic empowerment of persons with disabilities is not just an issue of corporate social responsibility. It is actually an issue of investment in people that brings returns, including economic growth, including in terms of GDP. And of course, it is the right thing to do when it comes to leaving no one behind. With that said, we have a wonderful panel. If I may introduce them one by one, we have Mr. Montian Buntan, who's the member of the Senate, Royal Thai Parliament, and member of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Thank you for coming. We have also Ms. Park Ji-hyun, who is the Minister and Permanent Representative of the Republic of Korea to ESCAP. Welcome. On the far right, Mr. Masami Akiyama, who is the President of Thai Yamazaki. And on the far left, Mr. Neil Boone, or on my far left, Mr. Neil Boone, who's the Regional Director, Asia Pacific of the United Nations Development Coordination Office. In a way, we have a panel that can speak very directly and from personal experience of leading by example, whether it's leading by example through a company like Yamazaki, whether it's leading by example through a country like the Republic of Korea, leading by example in almost every sense when it comes to Senator Montian, and of course trying to lead by example from our own perspectives in the UN, including at the country level that's overseen by my colleague Neil. So thank you all the panelists for joining us today. And let's, in a way, kickstart this conversation. I mentioned, Senator, that there are a lot of benefits to employing persons with disabilities. But how can countries and indeed organizations be more inclusive in their hiring practices so that more people with disabilities are brought into the workplace.
Here's a mic. It's okay. It's on. Mic is here. Yeah.
Thank you. Happy International Day of Persons with Disabilities to all. Well, employment is indeed one of the most concrete leading example. It should be regarded as a benchmark of how disability inclusion should be achieved, because by employing persons with disabilities through productive capacity and skills and knowledge of him or her, we are increasing buying power for people. And through buying power being increased through their own productivity, we are creating growth rather than paying welfare or allowance and for them to sit and wait for assistance from the government. So they are increasing in their income, and they pay back through their tax payment. They are also consuming, and if you follow any economic theory from past to present, you're always going to have to need consumption. High consumption leads to economic growth. If persons with disabilities have buying power, they then turn around and they participate and contribute to buying, and they also could contribute to further growth. And through employment of persons with disabilities, we create environment that is accessible, inclusive, safe, and secure for all, because persons with disabilities also carry out with them needs and requirements, and by being responsive to their needs and requirements, we are making our working environment more safe, secure, sustainable, accessible, and inclusive for all. So the benefit of employment of persons with disabilities is enormous, and it has been proven through several statistical data, research, and I think it's time for Asia, for this region, to take advantage of our leading global economic growth, to turn that into disability inclusive economic development, economic empowerment, and I would say including in the future or even now welcoming persons with disabilities as a business partner. So that is, I think, the whole benefit of hiring or employing or engaging persons with disabilities in the employment sector.
Thank you very much, Senator. And I think I took it very much to heart that employment, as you said, is the benchmark of inclusion of people with disabilities. And in our Asia-Pacific region, when we're talking about over 600 million people with some form of disability, it must be increasingly difficult not to have this large group of the population active members of the economy if we are indeed to make disability inclusive development a reality. So thank you so much for that. Your Excellency, Ms. Park, I turn to you because in a way the Republic of Korea has been a leading country in advocating for exactly that, for greater inclusion. We have the Incheon strategy, which is our own Asia-Pacific regional disability framework. We're probably the only region with such a framework in place to try to promote greater disability inclusive development. We'd very much be interested in hearing your views about disability inclusive development and investing in employment of persons with disabilities.
Thank you. It is my honor to join today. Celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And I would like to thank also organizer for giving me this opportunity to introduce Korea's approach to mainstream disability at the workplace. I would like to just touch upon 3 legislations that has been effective in reducing poverty and enhancing employment of people with disabilities in Korea. And then our multilateral approach to disability inclusion. As you just mentioned, that the Korea is the strong advocate of human rights, and also in terms of this disability inclusion. The Korea has been consistent in its commitment to basic human rights and fundamental freedom embedded in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Korean government recognized the full and complete realization of human rights of all persons with disabilities is an integral part of human rights and inclusive society that leaves no one behind. As all of us are aware, since employment has great influence on the income level and is an important aspect of social participation, the Korean government has introduced various measures, not only to increase employment rate, but also to improve the awareness on the disabled in the workplace. First is the anti-discrimination against and remedies for persons with disabilities act. In 2007, Korean government enacted the so-called Anti-Discrimination Act in order to prohibit discrimination against persons with disabilities, and also to protect persons with disabilities who face discrimination. This law is the legislative basis for disability across a range of areas, specifying discriminatory act in daily life, and also procedures for remedy and penalties to the violation of the right. Second is the employment of promotion and vocational rehabilitation of disabled persons act. Is the general law that the guarantee people with disabilities access to the workplace, to appropriate education and vocational training, and also to opportunities to participate fully in the society as a normal citizen. One of the best policies under this employment promotion and vocational rehabilitation of disabled Persons Act is the employment quota system. So according to this quota system, national and local government must employ disabled persons as much as 3.4% of the total workforce. Likewise, private companies with more than 50 regular employees should hire more than 3.1% of the employees. And lastly, we have also special act on the preferential purchase of goods produced by persons with severe disabilities. This special act was introduced to provide job opportunities to persons with severe disabilities who face difficulties in entering a comparative labor market. In accordance with this special act, public entities are obliged to preferentially purchase goods or services made by persons with severe disabilities, no less than 1% of their annual total expenditures. Together with those employment subsidies and incentives, this legislation have brought meaningful changes in the business environment, contributing to the improvement of jobs and employment rate of the disabled, and also to the boom of social enterprises for the disabled. As of 2017, almost 600 out of 1,825 certified social enterprise, they hired people with disabilities, consisting about 33% of the social enterprises in Korea. As a result of our continued effort, the overall labor participation rate of people with disabilities is increasing steadily with 49.2% disability employment rate, which is much higher than the average of OECD countries. And also, let me touch upon what we are doing in the international era. Korea has played a leading role in the protection and promotion of the rights of people with disabilities in international discussions. As you mentioned, that the Incheon strategy to make the right real for persons with disabilities. The Incheon strategy provides the Asian and Pacific region and the world with the first set of regionally agreed disability inclusive development goals comprising of 10 goals, 27 targets, and 62 indicators. This strategy was adopted in 2012 at the new Asian and Pacific Decade of Persons with Disabilities. For the period of 2013 to 2022, guiding member states to track their progress toward improving the quality of life the region's 690 million persons with disabilities. Another example is the ESCAP Accessibility Center. I guess most of you already passed the ESCAP Accessibility Center, which is equipped with assistive devices on the way to the conference room. The accessibility centers in ESCAP and the UN headquarters in New York were established by the support of the Korean government. As a key member leading the global disability agenda, the Republic of Korea seeks to foster great cooperation at the regional level with our ESCAP member states, which approach include the technical cooperation project to enhance competence in disability statistics, delivering policy development support to improve the implementation of disability programs, and offering useful publications promoting the right of people with disabilities in the Pacific, Asia and Pacific region. These are all the Korean government's approach to domestically and internationally ensure full participation of disabled persons in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I mean, there's a very, very comprehensive, in a way, legislative environment in Republic of Korea. What was interesting for me is that the legislation is doing two things. It's creating market opportunities, as well as, of course, job opportunities. I think the first of those is one that we see less of in the work on disability on the region, but creating the market opportunities, almost the business opportunities, as well as trying to open up greater job access for persons with disability. Thank you very much for your words and for updating us on the situation in the Republic of Korea. Allow me to turn next to Mr. Masami Akiyama, who is the president of Thai Yamazaki. Yamazaki, as you may know, is a very famous bakery with branches in over 10 countries, including all over Southeast Asia, Europe, and USA. But the Thai Yamazaki is a real leader because of the role it has played in facilitating disability inclusion. Akiyama-san, we would be very interested to hear from you on how disability inclusion makes good sense for your business, because you've ventured into this area without necessarily, or not necessarily because of legislation, but because it made sense to you and your company. So we would appreciate your thoughts on disability inclusion in the workplace as a private sector entity here with us. just for the benefit of colleagues. So Akiyama-san will speak in Japanese, although his English is very good.
Sorry.
But he will speak in Japanese, and Naiko will help to translate his interventions. Please, Akiyama-san.
はい、ただいま紹介いただきました秋山と申します。本日はこのような貴重な機会をいただきくださいましたESCAPの皆様に感謝申し上げます。
Thank you very much. My name is Akiyama. And then first, I'd like to extend my sincere, heartfelt appreciation to organizer ESCAP.
はじめに簡単に、私がいるタイ山崎の紹介をさせていただきます。私たちの会社は日本の食品企業山崎パンのタイの現地法人でございます。タイの事業は1984年、バンコク市街で、直営の焼きたてパン屋を開店し、以来、タイのお客様に育てていただきまして35年、現在では全国で97カ所で焼きたてのパンを販売しております。
So, may I just explain what we do in our business? The Thai Yamazaki is a Thai version of Yamazaki Bakery, which started in Japan, but in Thailand, 1984, we started the bakery in the midst of the town in Bangkok, but owing to supports of consumers in Thailand, for the last 35 years, we have grown a lot. So right now we have 97 places in Thailand where we sell fresh out of oven bread and cakes and then Japanese sweets.
タイ山崎は、タイ王室が支援しております APCD 財団運営の、60プラス、ベーカリー&カフェ店舗に、パンの製造技術指導者を派遣し、店舗で働く障害者の皆さんと一緒にパンを製造販売することで彼らの就労と自立のサポートをさせていただいております。
So when it comes to disability inclusion, Thai Yamazaki collaborates with APCD, Asia Pacific Center on Disability, and a project called 60 Plus Bakery and Cafe, which is also patronage by the royal Thai family. And then we do work with persons with disabilities who bake goods and then pans and then sweets. And so we have an intention to support their independent living and employment.
2015年の12月に、お店が開店し、早いもので丸4年を迎えています。これまで延べ113名の方々が研修を受け、73名の方が研修を無事に終了して、お仕事に就かれています。タイ山崎でも延べ24名の社員を社員として受け入れ、現在15名の方に働いてもらっています。
So this project has been going on for the full 4 years. Well, I can't believe it just went like a speed of light. But it started in December 2015, and total 113 persons with disabilities received the training, and 73 completed the training. And within our Thai Yamazaki, in total 15 of them are working as full-time employees. And then 18 also, plus 3 will be also working in other parts of Thai Yamazaki.
さて、ビジネス視点で、ちょっとお話をしますと、当社にとって2つのメリットがありました。1つ目は、この店舗が、シリントン王女生誕60周年記念事業として、タイの消費者の方々に非常に認知度が高く、山崎ブランドを店頭でアピールしていただくことで、ブランドイメージの向上を図ることができました。
Okay, so let's talk about business. What are the benefits of this project? Number one, because this project and then this whole setup started on the occasion of 60th anniversary of Princess Shrinton, actually really contributed to boost up our brand of Yamazaki.
2つ目は、13名の障害者雇用義務があります。雇用できない場合は、1人当たり年間約11万バーツの納付金の支払いが発生します。 当社の技術指導員が直接障害者の方々と日々仕事をさせてもらっているので、その中でうちに当社に適切な人選ができ、対山崎の直営店で貴重な戦力として働いてもらっているということがあります。
Number two, what's the benefit? I mean, we really actually, in conclusion, have a very productive workforce constituting persons with disabilities. Like in the case of ROK, Thailand has a quota system, so we have about 1,300 employees. By the law, we are supposed to hire 13 persons with disabilities. If we do not comply with this law, we are supposed to pay penalties, which is about 110,000 bahts. But now we have all the employees, but we are not just doing because we have to. As I said, they are working hand in hand with employees without disabilities, and they are really upfront in our workforce and contributing to our business activities.
ちょっとここからいいですか。外れました。もう一つですが、私どもは食品企業で、食べ物を作っております。食べ物は残念ながら、機械で全てを作ることができません。人の手によって作らなければなりません。
One more point I should like to mention here. As you know, Yamazaki were making food, breads and cakes. Machines cannot make our products. People have to get involved.
一方で、私、日本以外でも、中国、そしてこのタイ、シンガポール、ベトナム等で働かせてもらいましたが、各地で、人手不足という大きな問題を抱えていることを認識しています。
I have already worked in China, Thailand, Singapore, and Vietnam. What I hear from what I understood from these experiences are that they really face the lack of labor force in workers.
機械で置き換えられない仕事は人の手によってやるしかないのですが、ではどうやって人手を確保するかという中で、企業としては障害者の方の雇用というのは非常に重要になります。特に私ども食品企業で、働く者として、これから、障害者の方々の力を借りながら、安全で、おいしい製品を作っていくということは非常に重要なことだと考えています。
Our production process cannot be replaced by machines. Therefore, hiring persons with disabilities would be a great asset for a company like Yamazaki, our company, whose main business is producing food.
以上です。ありがとうございました。
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Akiyama-san. It's always good to hear from the business sector, and I like it very much from your intervention that you've made it clear that it's not just something that to the benefit of persons with disabilities. It's clearly been a policy that has been of benefit to Yamazaki as a business, including boosting of your brand, and that's of course an important message for other private sector companies. Allow me to turn to our last panelist, Mr. Neil Buna, who is Regional Director, Asia Pacific of the UN Development Coordination Office. Neil, we heard our Secretary General speaking about the importance of the UN leading by example. I know that as you oversee the operations of so many of our UN resident coordinators and the countries, you've seen some of the programs that we have put into place. Could you maybe speak a little bit about where the UN can play a role in promoting employment of persons with disabilities? What is our role? How can we inspire greater action at the national level?
Thank you, Kaveh, and it's an honor to speak after such a strong panel with Mr. Buntan, who's been a leader in this in Thailand, with Ms. Park Ji-hyun, who represents Korea, which has been a leader through the Incheon strategy, and with Mr. Akiyama, who's inspired me and made me hungry at the same time. But we need an inclusion strategy because too long the disabled have been excluded. And if you go back even to post-World War II, there were huge numbers of excluded people in sort of area where my parents came from in Europe. The Paralympics was actually founded by a man called Ludwig Guttmann, who actually was the father of my mother's roommate when she was studying to be a physio. So my mother actually was involved right from 1956 when she was training to be a physio, rooming with Mrs. Guttmann, or Ms. Guttmann at the time, on Paralympics. So this is something that I'm personally connected to. And in fact, Ms. Guttmann had been the mayor of the Paralympic city at the 2012 Olympics in London. So that's been one way in which I think it's been demonstrated that disabled people can do as much as abled, and that it's in everyone's interest that they are included and not excluded. But it's an issue that goes across the world, and I think the success of the Paralympics as a universal initiative now, including in countries I've served where people have contributed, including Sri Lanka, and I recognize the ambassador of Sri Lanka who's attending, and in Pakistan very recently, where I just left 4 months ago. All these countries are involved in this initiative. So it's universally recognized that inclusion is of benefit to everybody, but it still is quite hard to do. And I think if you would do a report card on what's happened over the last 70 years or so, it's still very much mixed results. So quite often, and the UN has been involved with these issues, and we've staked out ground and put out strategies and supported legislation. Governments have often put in place very good legislation at the country level, but it's often been very difficult to implement this. Sometimes because of the regular difficulties there are with governance, but sometimes there still is stigma that is attached to disabled people that makes it difficult for them to be employed. And hence the need for things such as the inclusion strategy, which we're launching today for Asia Pacific. But the UN can play a role at the regional level, at the global level, but also at the country level in trying to be a bit of a catalyst, working with advocates for disabled people, working with governments. And some of the countries I've served, we've been able to do that. Many years ago, and there are some people from who have links to Eastern Europe I see in the audience. I served as the resident coordinator and representative UNDP in Bulgaria, and we had a massive program called Beautiful Bulgaria that was primarily funded by the municipal and federal governments, and essentially tried to make Bulgaria more beautiful by restoring historic sites, but improving cities. But in all those things, on our own initiative, working with some partners, we tried to include accessibility issues, and we tried to employ disabled people. And there was a little bit of a spark that multiplied into a little bit more of inclusion rather than exclusion for the disabled people. Working in Sri Lanka from 2007 to 2011, which was one of the most difficult periods in the nation's history, there already were disabled people, both from regular circumstances and people who'd been affected by the earlier conflict, and then it was accelerated during that period. And we had very positive cooperation with the government immediately after the war, both in the facilities, camps, you could say, for the people who were displaced, and in how we tried to assist in helping the people be displaced. And we worked very closely, for example, with Handicapped International, which was one of the major international NGOs, in trying to ensure that services were provided. We work with ICRC in terms of providing prosthetics, and also in how we tried to design the recovery programs. Working with the Sri Lankan government to recognize that these people had rights for employment, they had rights to access to services, and to try to facilitate that. But again, the heavy lifting was done by the government and the Sri Lankan civil society organizations. Most recently, working in Pakistan, we were able, through a special fund that we got, which also was made available to Cambodia, to work with the government, the Ministry of Human Rights in particular, and UN Women and Handicapped International on a program to empower women with disabilities, because often women with disabilities suffered two forms of exclusion. One, the difficulties they often would face as women in a society where they had not had equal employment opportunities in the past, even if they now do, and exclusion because of disabilities. So our program looked at different issues. It recognized that these women had rights that had to be observed, and which government, employers, international organizations had to observe. But it also recognized that there was a limited capacity often to help them enjoy those rights, and there's a limited capacity on the part of government and civil society on that. So we worked on building that capacity, but we also recognized that there sometimes was stigma on a lot of these issues, and tried to work to break that stigma. And I remember being in Pakistan not so long ago with the human rights minister and a woman called, you can correct me, Munir Mazari, who's in a wheelchair, but is also one of the presenters on national television, and is the goodwill ambassador, in fact, for UN Women in Pakistan, for all women in Pakistan, but she happens to be disabled as well. So there are all sorts of examples where UN country teams can be a little bit of a spark, but a spark that only grows with strong support from government and disabled organizations. And I'm hoping that this launch of the strategy enables the UN as a whole, us at the regional level, but also at the country level, to do a bit more to make that progress better than it has been over the last 70 years, so that the advantage of disabled people having full rights is recognized. It's an advantage to them, obviously, but it's an advantage to everyone in the society. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Neil, and to talk to us about all of those experiences. I guess the challenge we always have, and this goes back to all of our panelists, is to take these really good pockets of experience and these great examples and scale them up so that we get closer to the 690 million people that Ms. Park mentioned that live with some form of disability in our region, and make sure that they are included in the development processes of the countries where they live. We have a few minutes?
Yes.
Okay. My boss has given me permission. My other boss, my real boss is there. My super boss you saw on the screen. We have a few more minutes. We would very much welcome any questions or any comments that you, as such a patient audience, would like to make. So I'm looking around the room to see if there's anybody who would like to make any additional observations or comments. I see one hand up all the way in the back. Could you find your way to a microphone, or see if, can we get a microphone back there?
Thank you very much. I would like to thank ESCAP to organize this significant event, and also I would like to thank the speaker that you mentioned to the importance of women with disability hiring in open work market. I think it is important to recognize that employability of persons with disability is their human rights in terms of rights-based approach. So therefore, all the employment policy should be in harmonizing the labor, international labor law, and also national labor law at the national levels. And I would love to inform you that in Southeast Asia, at the ASEAN levels, ASEAN Disability Forums is work towards intersecting discriminations, which is the multiple, aspects of discrimination towards women and persons with disability that they have been facing in daily life. And although in the regions, so we support enable master plans to mainstream disability perspective in socio-cultural policy, political and security policy, and also economic policy in 10 countries. If any of you are interested we invite you to join the conference tomorrow from the 4th and the 5th. You can observe the conference, what we are doing, and in terms of mainstreaming disability perspectives in ASEAN mechanism, especially towards economics, policy, and other open markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So the ASEAN Disability Forum, right? It's over the next 2 days. Very good. And yes, please. If you could introduce yourself. Thank you.
My name is Hiro Shibuya. I'm an advisor at the Nippon Foundation. I'm glad to see some of my good friends on the panel, and I'm glad to hear from moderator himself. The tone of this is, I just came back from, by the way, ILO's Global Business Network on Disability. But conversation is essentially the same. The issues are raised, and the NGOs, the UN officials, and so forth are debating. But in fact, there are very few business representatives there. In fact, that was a network. There was a very few business representatives. I think one of the things we have to challenge ourselves is that we have to develop the kind of languages that business leadership would relate to. And the Yamazaki Pan is a very illustrative of what can be done in a very tangible way. But that should not be exception. That should become a norm. And my mentor and friend Montaigne would always talks about this. The benefits is obvious. In fact, Foundation is just commissioning disability in new economy and focus on gig economy. It partially, and participants to our research work is the likes of IBM research and business consultants and business leaders, rather than disability experts. Of course, we would interface with business experts later, but to look into how this reality can be articulated and presented in a kind of language business leadership relate to. I have a bit of good news to announce that World Economic Forum has now decided, which is going to be officially launched at the Davos, that they are going to take this issue as one of their main ongoing agenda, as opposed to once in a while to talk about it. So those are the kind of promotional things has to go on. But still, I think we have to challenge ourselves, both the UN, public sector governments, and NGOs who are engaged in this endeavor to learn to develop the kind of language and to really aggressively relate, communicate, and work with the business sector. I think climate is right, but we haven't quite come up with the kind of language, and we tend to be talking among ourselves all the time. I think we have to get out of the box, and we have to find a way, probably in ASEAN, shall I say, ESCAP region, we might want to focus SMEs as a tangible, practical way to help SME to look into this employment, not just employment. It involves very challenging task. But I think we can go there if we focus and if we work directly with the business leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also for reminding us that it's, especially in Southeast Asia, but in much of Asia Pacific, medium, small, and micro enterprises are actually the backbone of the economy, and whether we are reaching them. I know that in Thailand, I was recently told it's over 40% of GDP is generated by this group. Let me turn back to Senator Montaigne, because I think he wanted to actually speak to this exact issue one more time. So, Senator Montian, you have the floor again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to say it again, that employment needs not be persons with disabilities being hired as an employee always, because I think we're seeing a growing emergence of startup or business ownership by persons with disabilities themselves. We're seeing a lot of initiatives, and we're seeing partnership between persons with disabilities who strive to own and run their business and being partner with mainstream business entities. I believe that Yamazaki must have something in mind. You could fully comprise with the quota system of Thailand and be happy about it. But I think what would generate growth or more development further is to encourage your supply chain in the ecosystem of your business and relevant business to include disability perspective that may include being partnered with business owners with disabilities. And I see the hope that that would be even greater impact upon the lives of persons with disabilities. We can keep talking about human rights. Of course, I'm a human rights advocate. There are a lot of ways to tackle human rights issues, and one of the issues that I think would be emerging is to empower persons with disabilities and to reduce discrimination and take this as a strength together. In Thailand, we could fulfill all the quota system and we will never be able to fulfill full employment of persons with disabilities. But once we turn into engaging them into business themselves and be accepted as a part of the business environment, that will generate even further growth, and the business will be more diverse, will be more inclusive. We do have Disability Empowerment Fund in Thailand that will be, I can predict that in the near future that would contribute to a much growth of business run by persons with disabilities themselves. And then at the beginning of this year, we just passed the Social Enterprise Act, and let's hope that such act will not contribute to a traditional approach of a sheltered workshop, but will indeed encourage persons with disabilities and partners to grow business that would be disability inclusive. And by the way, I'd like one word to leave with the United Nations. I said employment is a benchmark of disability inclusion. And since the UN would like to lead by example, and I like to see significant, tangible number of persons with disabilities either being employed or being engaged through business engagement in any UN relevant bodies, activities and programs. Let's strive to make that reality. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Sorry, Mr. Akiyama would like to respond to his remark.
Very good.
はい。今、あれですね、雇用の義務化という部分があったんですが、私どもは、というか私自身は、雇用の義務というところで障害者の方の、採用をしたり、実際に働いてもらっているという意識はありません。
Yeah, in response to what Montian says, first of all, I'd like to say, Yamazaki, we are hiring persons with disabilities not because we have to, not because we are obliged to do so.
先ほど、うちの会社で15名の障害者の方が働いていると申し上げましたが、実際にお店で働いていただいているんですが、私ども健常者以上に、非常に才能を持った方々がいっぱいいらっしゃいます。そういう人たちを私たちは伸ばしていく、そして障害者の方が本当に、健常者と変わらない同じレベルで仕事をしてもらう中で、 どんどん立場を上げていってもらうというのが私が考えている理想です。
So, yes, as I said, 15 persons with disabilities are working in Yamazaki. They are very good. Their skills, and then they are serving customers, and they are on an equal basis with employees without disabilities. So my idea is to we really like to support their capacity building, and then enable them to climb up the ladder within the corporate.
で、もう一つついでの話ですが、私子供が2人いまして、長男が今27歳で、発達障害で今仕事ができてません。
I have two children. The older one is 27 years old, having a developmental disability. He's not working.
日本でもですね、その身体障害者の方以外に発達障害の方って非常に多くて、そういう意味で偏りがある、決して能力はいっぱい持ってるのにちょっとしたところができない、もしくはコミュニケーションがうまく取れないとかいうところで働く機会を失っている方っていっぱいいると思います。そういった方々とどれだけ私どもは接点を持って、その人のいいところを使って、でうちの会社で頑張ってもらえるか、そういうことをどうやってやっていこうかな。ちょっとこれは具体的な例は何もないんですが、自分の息子を見てる限りそういうことを会社として企業としてしていかないといけないなというのは実感しています。
When I observe my own son who has a developmental disabilities, and then the situation of employment of persons with developmental disabilities in Japan, there are so many of them, of course, but I see they can do things, they can work, but they might not have some skills such as communication skills, which are sort of required at the workplace, but they can still work. So I'm thinking of my son as a source of inspiration, so to speak, to think about how we, Yamazaki, can incorporate those undiscovered human resources to contribute to our business.
すいません、以上です。
Thank you very much. And I mean, this clearly is something that we could continue talking about. Really, our conversation is not finished, but our time, unfortunately, is. So, allow me to do two things. One is to let you know that outside, in case you didn't see it, there's a stand of a business that produces chocolate. Persons with disability. It's a very pleasant way of contributing. So please join that stand. Buy some chocolate. It's delicious. It's probably the best I've had in Thailand for sure. We also have, of course, a mini branch of Yamazaki within our canteen. Neil is one of the biggest customers, so please do pop by in case you stay for lunch. But most important of all, please join me in a big round of applause for our brilliant panelists today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zahidi. And once again, may I invite a round of applause for all the wonderful panelists and then the moderator. Now, let us see and feel the power of persons with disabilities. Speaking of working in different settings, we like to launch a collage of campaign videos. This is my workplace. The campaign organized by ESCAP, the Office of Human Resources in New York, and the office in Nairobi aims to show dignity, pride, and abilities of persons with diverse disabilities at work throughout the world. All of these videos and collages of selected videos will be shown on the UN Career Facebook and other social media. We are also very thankful for close to 30 videos collected across our region. Today we will launch a collage of selected videos, while the full version of videos collected from all of our contributors will be later presented on ESCAP YouTube next week. Welcome to the This Is My Workplace.
This is my workplace. Workplace.
This is my workplace.
This is my workplace.
This is my workplace.
मेरा नाम अदनान है और ये मेरा दफ्तर है.
This is my workplace.
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 Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues from disability and other civil rights organizations in the private sector. ESCAP, together with all UN organizations, will continue the path of disability inclusion, now with a renewed sense of determination with our disability inclusion strategy. Please join us now for a group photo for everybody outside of the room, followed by a chocolate tasting, and coffee and snacks and networking. And of course, we have a photo stand to take your own photos to promote the UN disability inclusion strategies. Congratulations for the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. With this, we would like to conclude this event. Thank you very much.
Another one.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well done. Thank you. Thank you, Neil. You got inspired. You appeared. Okay, let's take a group photo, please. Thank you very much. Very nice. Group photo. Please join us for group photo first. And then yes. Yeah. Montian-san. Would you like to? Have a 1 million baht there.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, this is Mrs. Bach from Victoria ODC. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
That's okay then, as long as it's.
Oh, that's good. May I give you my name card? But this is
I send you a message. You know when we're going to lunch
sorry, I don't know.
tomorrow, I just send you an email because they download it in e-class.
Very big project.
Yeah.
So there will be many opportunities.
ห้องนี้ฮอตรอบบ่ายมีเหรอพี่ผมไม่ขอนะ